All right. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you here. I see a couple people already jumped in. Welcome to this Saturday. I almost said a Saturday edition, but it's always a Saturday live stream most of the time. But welcome to the live stream here, Dev Mentor Dave YouTube channel. Good to see everybody who's watching. And if you are watching, jump in the chat and say hello. If you are watching for the first time, or maybe the first time in a long time, let us know where you're watching from so that we can say hello, and I can try to remember if possible where it is that you're coming from. But hopefully this will be a little bit of a more fun or interesting live stream. I have several things that I need to do that I want to do today. So I'm going to try to skip through all the initial stuff pretty quick here. And kind of just jump into some of our content because I've got a few thoughts from Laracon, and then I've also got some things that we need to talk about for the Dev Mentor Dave DeepPockets project, which I know many of you are anxiously waiting for tickets. I don't have the tickets created yet, but I want to talk through what we're going to be doing, and then I will create the tickets this weekend. Honestly, probably Monday is when I'll create the tickets. I just have been super busy, but thankfully we have a holiday on Monday, and so I'm going to be able to get some stuff knocked out then, hopefully, as well as some videos, hopefully, Monday, because I don't think I have a bunch of stuff going on. But we'll dive into that here in just a minute. Excuse me. No coffee this morning. Sorry I was a couple minutes late. We've got some company coming over from out of town, and my wife's been having me run around here and there getting things done. So it just took me a little bit longer to get on here. So hopefully you guys are doing well. Good to see you all. Hey Ming, good to see you. Like I said, if you're watching live, say hi in the chat. I love to interact with you guys, so feel free to respond to anything that I say, positively or negatively. All right, so as always, hit the like button. Let's YouTube know that people are interested in this content. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. If you're not on the Discord channel, jump in the Discord channel. Follow all the little icon things going on over here. All that stuff, basically. So first thing I want to get out of the way is I want to take a look at the live stream from last week, because if you remember in the live stream from last week, hopefully you saw this either as a post or on LinkedIn. I put it on LinkedIn, but hopefully you saw this, and we might do this again too, just because I think a lot of people probably missed it. But we're going to jump over to the YouTube channel here, if I can find what I'm looking for. There we go. All right, so let's jump over to the YouTube channel. So this is the live stream from last week. Yeah. Live stream from last week, 10 lessons learned from junior devs, for junior devs after 1 year. Now, what I threw out there last week was a little contest for anybody who wanted to jump into the contest. They could get an entry into the drawing to see if you would win a custom-made coffee mug, custom printed, I should say, probably not custom made, but custom printed coffee mug with the Dev Mentor Dave logo, probably a message or something like that to you. So as you can see, the rules basically were leave a comment specifically calling out the mug or the coffee mug with a hashtag, or really anything that made it clear that you were leaving a comment mostly for that specific purpose. And so as you can see here, we have 3 entries. So only 3 entries, and with only 3 entries, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have everybody who's on the screen right now win. So Cyan Dog, Mel, and Daryl Roberts. So the 3 of you, I'm going to get in contact with you all through YouTube, and I will get your address information and let you know. If you are in the Discord channel and you want to private message me in the Discord channel, you can do that as well. Just let me know. Make sure I know which one you are, because I know sometimes the items the names are different from one platform to another depending on whether they're available. But yeah, so I will send one to each of you. Since I'm doing 3 coffee mugs, I probably won't do coffee as well. It'll probably just be the mugs this time. But I think we'll do something else like this here again in the future. I have some other ideas for giveaways and things like that. Hey Ming, oh, you just added me on LinkedIn? Awesome. I will take a look at that. Maybe today. I don't know. I've got a lot of things going on. In fact, we're going to probably keep this one a little shorter today. Maybe an hour, maybe a little bit over an hour. We'll see how it goes. But I just wanted to I want to get that taken care of. But yeah, I'll take a look at that as soon as I can, Ming, and get you added on LinkedIn. I have a few people I think that have hit me up recently, and I just haven't really had the time to get on there. Unfortunately, what happens is on LinkedIn especially, once you start getting a decent number of connections, people just start connecting with you, or when you talk about things like your YouTube channel, people try to connect with you, and they really want to sell you stuff more than they want to actually interact with you or ask questions and things like that. So unfortunately I don't know necessarily who everybody is all the time, and so I kind of try to do a little investigation when somebody does add me these days, just because I don't want to sit there and deal with the salespeople sending me chat messages afterwards. So anyway, so that might be, it's one of the reasons why I probably haven't approved you yet, if it's been a while. I don't know if you'd say you just did it, so I haven't seen it come across yet. Yeah, I mean, I will try to do some time for questions at the end. I think most of what I'm going to go through is pretty straightforward. Hopefully people who are going to be doing tickets have seen the other videos, so if not, they'll just need to go back and find them. You'll sell me some coffee? Well, you know, my wife would be the one that would take you up on that more than me. All right, hey, welcome, Ali. Good to see you. Sorry, I skipped over you. I was talking to Ming there for a minute. But welcome, good to see you. Hope you all are having a good day or a good evening. I think most of you are are not here in the United States that are currently on, at least those that I know and I'm talking to in the chat. So feel free to jump in the chat and join us as we go here. So if you are dealing with the DeepPockets project, you know, or you should know, hopefully, that we are using the backend framework Laravel for PHP. And Laravel is a framework that's been around for 10, 12, 15 years, something like that. I can't remember exactly when off the top of my head it was started, but it's been a really interesting framework to watch grow. I played with it early on back I almost said level, back in version 4, I think, is when I was playing with Laravel. And then the job that I currently have, we're a Laravel shop. We do lots of other things too, but we like to do Laravel projects. And so I jumped back into it in Laravel 9. We're on Laravel 11 now. And so they just had their conference, their United States conference called Laracon US down in Dallas. I was not able to go this year. I went last year in Nashville, Tennessee. But this year I wasn't able to go. I just had way too much stuff going on and vacation coming up and things like that. So there might be a chance I'll go next year. We'll see. So if anybody happens to go to the Laracon US, I might be there next year. We'll see. I don't know where it's going to be or anything about it yet. So, but I did watch it online while I was working here at home, and really enjoyed a lot of the information. But one of the things that stood out to me, and I posted about this on LinkedIn briefly, was there is so much to learn. Even when you contract yourself down to a very specific subset of development and even subset of web development, there's just so much going on. There's so much to learn. It can be very not just confusing, but very disconcerting to think that you're going to try to keep up with everything that's happening in the development world. And so I posted on LinkedIn just something very briefly, but I wanted to kind of echo that here because I know not everybody follows me on LinkedIn, which is a shame. You should follow me on LinkedIn because I post not very frequently. So I probably post less frequently now than I put up YouTube videos, which is not very often these days. So, but one of the things I was thinking about is, especially for junior developers, it can be just mind blowing all the different things that are out there and available, and the things that people expect for you to learn. And this is a bit of a warning, but also a bit of encouragement. The warning is that's not going to change. You're going to deal with that for the rest of your career as a developer. But hopefully the encouragement in that is the reality that that means we're all still in the same boat. So even though I've been writing code for over 20 years and doing it professionally for almost 15 years, that I'm still facing the same situation. You know, I sit there and watch the videos from Laracon, and I'm looking at all the different things that they're doing with pest unit testing and all the different things that they're doing with inertia and with Livewire and their front end stuff. It's just, there's so much going on just in the Laravel ecosystem that you could literally have a full-time job just keeping up with. In fact, there's literally like a newsletter that comes out daily that's what they do, is they keep up with things going on in the Laravel community. So don't be discouraged when you look around and see all the different things that are out there that are available for you to learn, and that people really want you to learn and expect you to learn. Because at the end of the day, no matter how long you've been doing this, the key to growth or the key to success is the ability to learn. It's the ability to keep learning over and over and over. Hopefully not the same thing over and over and over again, but the ability to learn something new over and over and over again. And so don't be discouraged by that, but rather be encouraged by being able to look backwards and say, hey, look, this is how far I've come, and I know that I'm going to have to keep doing this for the rest of my career. And I think that's one of the things that I would really encourage people who are looking to get into this. If you don't like learning new things, if you don't like the struggle of learning new things, you should not be a developer. I was working on an issue with my code recently, actually yesterday. And I was working on a project, and I found an issue, and I wrote out all the code that I knew needed to happen. I wrote out the process exactly the way that it should work. I had everything. I was printing out the information to the console. This was all in Node and React. And so I'm printing things out to the console, and I'm trying to figure out, why is this not working? It shows right here that the information is there. And after about 3 hours of fighting with this, and I did have other people actually look at it, so it's not like I'm just sitting there by myself. But after 3 hours, what I finally realized is that there was a mutation going on later on, and that was causing the work that I was doing to basically disappear. And I spent a lot of time trying to backtrack that, and it took me way too long to do that for a senior dev, right? But that is the reality. These are the struggles of development. And so what you're facing right now as a junior developer are things that you're going to face as a senior developer. You're just going to have more knowledge and be able to know what to test and what to check and find the bugs faster and easier. Hopefully better than I did. So anyway, I just wanted to encourage you guys. It's easy to think that everyone is just overbearing and they want too much of you. And that is true in many respects, I'll be honest with you. Especially with the advent of AI, people just assume that AI makes our jobs super, super easy. But even if you're a seasoned developer, there's so much going on, even in a small subset of the community, that you can't keep up with it all. So you've got to just figure out, what is it that I need to learn to do what I'm trying to do, and push forward with that. So hopefully that's a little bit of an encouragement to you. Don't be discouraged. It's just a hard job, and it's a fun job, and it's a very rewarding job, but it's still a hard job. Anything worth doing is going to be hard, and I think this is a career that's worth doing. Absolutely. So I still encourage you guys to get in it. And if you're interested, you can go to Laravel's YouTube channel. Let me look it up real fast. Let's see. Let me just do Laracon. Laracon US 2024. Jump this over. Here's the keynote. But we can just go to the Laravel channel. Yeah. So they have, I think they have all of the stuff here. It's probably under live. Unless they took it down. That's interesting. There's the keynote. Oh, I haven't watched this one. But, huh. That's weird. Laravel Cloud is a new thing. So it's Laravel specific hosting, but managed cloud hosting, which is nice. I'll definitely be looking at that. So they don't, it looks like they don't have the playlist up for 2024 yet. Maybe let's check here. Oh, here it is. Yeah, it is. Okay, Laracon, go to playlists. That's helpful, right? Go to playlists, Laracon US 2024. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. If you're interested, take a look at that. Lots of good talks. Some of them technical, some of them not technical. In fact, the guys from our company that went came back, and one of them asked me if I would be interested in doing speaking. I was like, well, it wouldn't be a technical session because if you've ever watched my YouTube channel, you'll know that I don't do very well writing code under pressure. So yeah, that's probably not going to happen. But you never know. We'll see. All right, so let's jump into some project conversation here. Let me just see if anybody see. Ming says, when I first started, I wouldn't say I like problem solving, and my friend said, if you don't want to debug, then this career isn't for you. Yeah, that's pretty much true. If you don't want to debug, don't become a developer. We're like electronic exterminators, right? That's our job. We got to figure out how the bugs are getting in and seal up the house, and then kill the ones that are there. So, that's the reality of what we do. And the worst part about that, Ming, is really most of the bugs that we squash are bugs that we created on our own. So that makes it a little less fun sometimes. But you still have that victory fist pump, or exclamation. This is why you should never write code. You should never work in a library. Working in a coffee shop's okay because there's bustle and hustle and things like that, but don't write code in a library because eventually you're going to run across a bug and you're going to fix that bug, and then you're going to celebrate, and sometimes that celebration might get a little bit loud and punctuated at times. So I can't tell you how many times I've been sitting in my easy chair writing some code and fixing a bug, and as soon as I get a bug fix, I'm like, and then my wife from across the room looks at me and she's like, what are you doing? So it's just the reality that we fight bugs all the time, and we squash bugs, and then we get excited. So there you go. All right. So last week I mentioned that we were going to start writing code soon. We are going to write code this week. Like I said, I didn't get a chance to get the tickets actually created, but I'm going to talk through what we're going to be working on first for the tickets, and then I'll get some tickets created, and you guys can either grab them or I will assign them for those who have asked for individual tickets. I will get those out to you guys so we can actually start really working on this project. Hopefully, you all still have the DeepPockets project pulled down on your machines. But I did want to go through real quickly and show you the initial design at least page one that we'll be working on. Kind of walk through the different pieces, the different elements of it, things that that are going to be in tickets. Excuse me. Oi. And then I'm going to probably open it up for questions and then jump off here in not too long so I can get some stuff ready for company coming over. So let me jump back over to the browser here. Okay. So most of you should know by now that we're using Figma for some of our design elements. And I had some of you, or I asked you on the live stream to do some work on design with Figma, just to kind of get used to working with it, get used to manipulating things and clicking on things and seeing how stuff is set up. This is not going to be the splash page. I haven't decided if we're going to do a splash page because, again, this is more of a desktop application. So I'm not really worried about making sure that we have screens and designs for mobile users. This is going to be more for on your desktop, running in your local environment, probably in Sail or something like that. The goal is not necessarily to put this out there on the web for people to use. This is a personal use application that we're developing, and developers will be able to just pull it down and use it and manipulate it and do things that they want to with it in the future. So, open source. I have never actually worked on an open source project. That probably sounds weird with me doing working with open source stuff for quite a few years, but I've never actually done that as like put up my own project for open source. Again, mostly because I would consider myself kind of an average developer, so I don't know that I have a whole lot from a code standpoint to share with the community at large. But this we will, if for nothing else than to make it publicly available for people to learn from and work with, and even work with after we stop doing the project on the live stream. So we'll see how that goes. Hey, Cyan Dog. Oh, I know who you are. I just can't think of it off the top of my head. Shoot. I think you're from Brazil, right? I was just talking to you the other day on LinkedIn. And that's in a different browser. Oh, well. Sorry. So you missed it earlier, but basically only 3 people entered. So I'm going to give each of them a coffee mug. So feel free to, I'll contact you either through LinkedIn or through the Discord channel or something like that, and we'll get you squared away so I can get all your information to send that to you. So, okay, so let's talk through. I got a little bit better. I actually did all of this last night. Yes, you did. I actually did all this last night, and I'm getting pretty good at using the different Material UI pieces from this, and I put it into our own project, so I should be able to share this with you guys. I will put a link to the design in all of the tickets, all the front-end tickets. I'll probably put in all the tickets for now, but we'll just add pages as we go. Some of this stuff is just stuff that's already there. Obviously, it says delete this. We should probably delete it at some point. This is just a standard desktop. I'm not too worried about the actual dimensions, but this is just kind of based off of a standard desktop size. There really isn't such a thing as a standard desktop size anymore with all the different monitor sizes these days, and laptop sizes. But this is at least a guide to help us work through some design elements. I do not expect pixel perfection. That's never been how I do code. I think that makes a lot of assumptions when you expect pixel perfection. So we're not expecting pixel perfection, but we want to make sure that we're trying to build something that looks pretty much like what the design is. So let's dive in here. The first page that we're going to design actually is budgets. And I know that there are some dependencies for budgets, but we're going to not worry about that quite yet. So one of the tickets is going to be actually seeding budget information, but we're definitely going to have some layout tickets. All right, so we're going to have tickets around the basic page. which somebody will have to actually create the route. They're going to have to make the basic page. They're going to need to do um, put in some initial code for layout, but really all of these elements are going to be React components. And if you guys remember, we're going to use sort of page components, and we'll use individual components for obviously the individual things. We'll use the MUI framework. So hopefully it'll be a little bit faster and easier, but I will be putting those tickets in no later than Monday. Since Monday's a holiday, I'll have a little bit of time. And so we'll be putting those tickets in and talking about, that'll give more details as far as how I want things to be laid out. I might switch out some of these icons. These are just basic ones that are in here. So if you happen to get this list as one of your tickets, then definitely make sure that you're looking at the notes, not just the design. So make sure you read the ticket specifically. So our first page here is going to be budgets. We do have several items listed. We'll just stub these out for now, and there will be more that we're going to stub out as well. But we're just going to put those here, and none of them will work initially. So this will be, budgets will be the main page that you come to first. So it'll just be basically a list of budgets. Again, there's some functionality. I still need to do a little bit of design work on this to make some of the functionality obvious. But initially, we're just going to work on the design. We're going to work on some of the backend API to be able to list this information. So we're not worried about all the CRUD yet. We're just looking into listing. And there will be more columns. That's why this is pushed over this way. There will be more columns that I'm going to want to show over time, but I haven't laid those out yet. So this design is going to change. And that's one of the things that I wanted to kind of address this morning, is that when you are working on a real project, even especially with real designers, which I am not, as you can tell, when you're working with real designers on a real team, there are going to be changes along the way. There are going to be additions and things like that. So you need to make sure that you're keeping track, or that somebody in your team is keeping track of those changes and making sure that they're updating any tickets that are necessary. If when you're doing tickets, you see a difference between what the ticket says and what the design shows, don't just go with one or the other. Confirm it, because more than likely what happened was a ticket was created and then the design changed. And the designs don't typically just change willy-nilly. They change because there's been further conversations. And so we want to make sure that we have the most up-to-date information that we're developing off of. So make sure you double check it. So if you see a change in these designs during this process as we go, which you will, and you have a ticket that I didn't update or something like that, go to the Discord channel, leave a comment in the specific DevMentor Dave or the DeepPockets channel, and ask. Put a link to the ticket or something like that, and just ask and see, hey, did something change? Do I need to follow these instructions still? So just make sure that you're keeping track of that yourself, because as we go along, as we get more and more tickets, it will be harder to go back and just time consuming to go back and update things visually. So, or even in the wording of the ticket. So make sure you're always following up with that in case you see changes. Okay. So we're not going to try to tackle the search functionality right now. That'll just going to be a design that will stub out. So we will have somebody actually put those fields in and put those buttons in, but we're not too worried about that. The first step that we're going to deal with is the overall design of the app. And then we're going to deal with this budget page, which we'll want to be able to list and get a list. And we are going to want to be able to sort that list. All right, so we're not worrying about searching yet, but we are going to worry about getting a list and sorting the list. Now, I know we've got quite a few people who are interested in doing tickets. So I'm going to go back through that list and start assigning tickets. Hopefully the most important ones get done by people who are going to be doing them fairly quickly. If you don't remember how we're going to go about handling anything with Laravel, with React, how we're going to put the React components into Laravel. We have previous live streams, and I will try to go through and find those and call those out specifically in the details on this live stream details later, just so you have links to those. You can go back and watch it. Obviously, if you have questions, certainly jump in the Discord channel and ask those questions there. I'll be happy to answer them as soon as I have a chance to do that. So, but this is going to be the first page that we work on. Like I said, there will be a lot of front end work here, but we're also going to have some back end work. So those of you who are interested in doing back end work, there's going to definitely be opportunities for you guys to jump in there, build out some APIs, so that we can get this project actually coding and moving forward. So that was the name. Let's start coding. That's the name of the live stream this morning. So we are finally there. I'm going to get those tickets out no later than the end of the day on Monday, and so those who want to, if for some reason you want to participate in this project but you have not let me know to this point, make sure that you let me know in the Discord channel. All right, go to the Discord, the DeepPockets Discord channel for the Dev Mentor Dave server, right? So there's so many layers there. It's a little confusing. But go to the Discord channel and let me know that you're interested in tickets. I may do another post in there just as a reminder and as a kind of a secondary look to make sure who actually wants tickets. So look for that. And I may put that out there. So that's what we're going to be doing first. We're going to be looking at the budgets page, just the listings. So we're not going to need to do the create. I'll show you the designs for that once we get those in there, and once we get the, kind of this basic layout done, and then also get the budget listing done. Again, we won't do the search right away. We might do that probably after we do the CRUD. So, but we're not going to do the search right away. Obviously, something on here that you don't see is buttons, right? So deleting and creating. Again, we're going to do all of that next. But I wanted to get the design kind of started and fairly cohesive of what I want to do, and then I wanted to get everybody kind of just some initial tickets to get your feet wet and remind you of all the things that we've talked about from the coding standpoint up to this point. So lots of stuff that's going to start coming out here as we start actually developing the project and as we start doing more pull request reviews, things like that. So do remind me if you don't want your pull requests reviewed publicly, let me know. Otherwise, I probably will do some PR reviews for the platform as we get moving. So this will turn into a lot more of discussion around work and around the tickets themselves and around the project for the first hour moving forward. We've done a lot of talking about things around development and learning, Laravel and React and things like that. But we're gonna be really focused on the project itself moving forward on Saturdays. So I am working on a number of dev tickets right now and planning them out because there will be a period of time that I'll be gone for 2 weeks in a row. I apologize for that, but it is what it is. There might be a chance that I will do something one of the weeks, but one of the weeks I will definitely be unavailable. So, and that's coming up here at the end of September. So I'm trying to get stuff planned out ahead of time to make sure that we've got enough work for you guys to do and to try to get some videos out for you guys with some other information, things like that. So if there are questions that we don't get answered on the live stream, I'm hoping to be able to create some videos around that. Again, make sure that you're taking advantage of the Laravel documentation. So if I could type, nope, can't type still. Laravel.com. Okay. So if that loads, make sure you take a lot of time to look at the Laravel documentation if you've got questions. We are in version 11 for this project. I'm using Sail. Some of you are using Herd. Lots of different development environment. So if you have questions about that, leave them in the Discord server, in the DeepPockets channel. The other thing to really take a look at is MUI.com, and specifically the docs, material UI, and the components. So we're going to be pretty much exclusively using these components for both the design and the development. So just don't forget what we're using. And then, of course, React on the front end. This is a React component library, so that should be fairly straightforward. I'm not a huge fan of React, but in my opinion, MUI makes it pretty easy to work with most of the time. I'm still more of a Vue guy, but I can do both. And Angular. So I've got the three big ones now. So it's been a few years since I've done Angular. So this is going to be our design. Hopefully you guys are looking forward to get some tickets and actually putting some code up, more than just my weird examples that I've had you do to this point and just in the learning process. So hopefully that'll be helpful to you. If there should be, I believe, some seeders for, let's just go check. All right, let's look at, why is it not showing my, oh, there we go, perfect. DeepPockets. Okay, so we have in the database, did we not merge anybody's seeders in? I thought we did seeders. Let's look at the pull request. Seeders. Okay. So I still need to merge in some seeders PRs here. But there should be, let's see, seeders, budget category, budget seeder. Okay. So we do have seeders for budgets. And so we should already have that in main. I'll get that stuff merged in as well. I think this one got, did we review this one? Let's see. Review required. I have not looked at this one. All right. Well, I don't have time to do it live today, but I'll look at this one. Looks like there's lots of stuff in there. So I think this one might have some updates from bug fixes. Anyway, I'll look at that. So just make sure that you guys have access to everything. Make sure you have access to this board. So this board is going to be, oh, let me go back to it. This board is going to be where all the tickets are, and I should be able to assign them to you. If for some reason you can't view or manipulate the tickets here, let me know and I'll try to figure it out. I'm pretty sure I added people to this. I don't want to do this live so we don't show anybody's information. I think I fixed the bug that was keeping people from being able to interact with these, but if not, let me know. Yep, you're late. Sorry, Mel. But the good news is, Mel, that only 3 people participated in our giveaway, and so all 3 of you won. So I'm going to be sending you a mug. So I'll get in touch with you and get your information for that later. Let's see. I think there's some other things in here. Yeah, I am not a UI UX designer. Ming, no, absolutely not. That's definitely no. You do not want me designing anything. I use component libraries because it makes it much easier. In fact, for people who are Laravel people, there is a so Laravel created their own kind of front end architecture that allows you basically to write PHP components, and then it compiles the front end necessary to make reactive stuff. And they just came out with their own UI kit for it, and there's some pretty slick stuff in this UI kit. If you're interested, go watch. There should be a video on it on the Laracon playlist on their YouTube channel. But it doesn't look like much, but once you start looking at the functionality, there's a lot of care that they put into it, that and just thinking that some of the other component libraries don't really do. But this is specific really for Livewire. But anyway, that was another one of those fun things from Laracon that I got to see on the live stream. So yeah, pretty neat. If you're interested in messing around with Livewire, it's gonna be pricey. I think it's like pre-orders like $99 per project. Um, and I think their plan's like 150 or something per project. So it's not cheap, but quite frankly, the level of effort that they put into it is really, really good. And in my opinion, it's worth it. So I have not ordered it yet, mostly because I haven't done a lot with Livewire, quite frankly. But I have a feeling that's going to be paid for in the near future. So, but I mean, if it makes your life faster to do projects, then you can do more projects and make more money. So that's the goal at the end of the day, is to turn this thing into a money making opportunity, this development thing, right, into a money making opportunity. So I think that's what most of us are going for. But yeah, so that was pretty cool. Let me see what else here. Yusuf, welcome. I don't think I saw you earlier. Welcome. Good to see you. Kelly, good to see you. I don't think I saw you earlier. Welcome. We're going to keep this one a little shorter today, guys, for those of you who are joining us just now. I apologize. We've got company coming over today, and we've got lots of things going on and stuff, so I need to save a few minutes here at some point. But Yusuf asked the question, what tech stack do I use daily? I use multiple tech stacks daily. So the company that I work for, we're pretty eclectic. We have applications that are in C#, .NET. We've got applications in, we've got one in Perl. We've got one in Go. Go. We've got a lot of them are Laravel. Oh, excuse me, man. I would say that our bread and butter and what I typically deal with the most is Laravel. So PHP, MySQL or Postgres, Laravel as our backend framework, and then typically we would do Vue.js as our front end, which is the one that I prefer out of the big three, which is nice. So we do that. So Vue.js, Laravel, usually MySQL or Postgres on the back end database. So we do lots of different things though. So we don't just build apps from scratch. We actually take on applications from other companies. I've got one project that I manage that is kind of a homegrown PHP framework by the developer who started it like 10 years ago. It was originally kind of loosely based off of CodeIgniter framework. But again, like we do a lot of PHP. I would say the vast majority of what we work on is PHP, but one of the other projects that I manage is a Node backend with a Postgres database and using React on the front end with Next JS framework on the front end. So we're pretty eclectic, and even from a management standpoint, like I said, I manage a Node project. I manage multiple PHP projects. Some of the PHP projects have React on the front end. Some of them have Node, or not Node, have Vue on the front end. So I haven't really done a whole lot with Angular. We don't really have a lot of clients coming to us with Angular or wanting Angular. But our bread and butter, the one that we would prefer, would be Laravel and usually Vue. We haven't done a whole lot as a company with Livewire, so I'm kind of interested to jump into Livewire. It'd be great if we can find a client that wants us to do that. But otherwise we'll just have to build something and learn on the side. So which is actually one of the things that I'm doing. So I have a project on the side that I'm going to be working on for my brother, most likely, and that I think I'm going to do in Livewire. So I might end up buying this toolkit. I don't know when it's going to. I think it's going to be available here in the next week or so. So I'll probably end up buying it for that. But yeah, so that's the tech stack that I would typically do. Yesterday, and really actually for the last several weeks, actually a couple months, I've been mostly in the Node project, helping out with that. I spend most of my time managing projects these days. If you don't know, I actually got recently this year. I was moved up to a what we call a director level position, so I manage a number of different projects, and I work with lead developers on those now. I used to be a lead dev, so I used to be much more in the code, but so I've been in the code a lot lately. So it's helping me keep up on my development skills for sure. Which, quite frankly, if you don't use it, you do lose it. You just forget stuff. You forget how when you're not actually developing, you forget how long things take sometimes. So it can be easy for me to assume things are easier and faster than they actually are when I'm not actually developing. So it's really important for me to keep developing even on the side if I have to, just to remember how long things actually take, because that's something clients don't really understand. Even with our company, we have all senior level developers. We well, almost all senior level developers. We got a couple mids, I think, but um, we know what we're doing. But even knowing what you're doing and doing it for a number of years doesn't necessarily make it faster. sometimes it makes it slower because you know to think through things better at the beginning. But it means it should be a better quality product at the end of the day. And so it's easy when you're not in the code every day, when you're not dealing with stuff every day, to forget how long different things take, writing tests or even just debugging issues. And I tend to be a little bit of an optimist when it comes to that anyway. So it helps me to make sure I spend time writing code myself, still, to make sure that I'm giving accurate information too. So that's the tech stack. It's very confusing, mostly because I work in a lot of different things, but preferably Laravel and Vue is what we'd prefer to do. What I would prefer to do. But we'll do pretty much anything anybody will pay us to do. So there's that. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Mel. Sorry you have got a cold. Actually, most of my family is fighting a cold too, kind of back and forth. Thankfully, I've not caught it yet. Um, Knock on wood, right? But I haven't caught it yet. I'm sure I probably will at some point. But yeah, that's never fun. So hopefully you do better quickly, Mel. And yes, you're welcome. I do know you are across the pond there. So I think all three winners are outside the U.S. So that's why I'm only going with the three, and that's why I was originally only going to do one. But since there were only three people that participated, yeah, I'll put up the money. But here's the deal: when you get it, I have to have a picture. All right, you got to take a picture of you with the mug, not just the mug. I have to take a picture with you with the mug, so I can see the joy on your face, or give me a an unhappy look or something. Hopefully, it arrives okay and not broken. That would be for an unhappy look for sure. Uh, but yeah, I will get those. I haven't done the design yet, so I'll get that cooking this week as well, and hopefully get those sent off to you guys um, soon. So I'll get all your information. Hey, your face won't break my device. If I can come on here, you're probably fine. I am not the most photogenic person in the world. All right, let's see. I know there's some other stuff here that I'm kind of missing. Let's see. Views practically JavaScript, but uses MVV architecture. Yeah, exactly. I think that's one of the things. It's just very easy. It's easy to pick up. It's not as intrusive um, or convoluted. Angular is just really convoluted. Um, React, I don't like JSX. That's really what it comes down to. at the end of the day. So that's fine. To each his own. Let's see. Kelly says, as a beginner, would you say it's advisable to learn many languages? Seems to me you are experiencing many of them so far, and so far it's still also mastering PHP and Laravel. Um, I would not say no. I mean, I would not say yes. So here's the deal. Unless you are really specifically focused on one thing, like you just want to be a back end dev or you want to be a front end dev. If you really want to be a full stack dev, you're going to by necessity learn multiple languages. Um, it is my opinion, and honestly, most of the senior developers that I work with are of the same opinion that language really, once you kind of hit mid level development and definitely at senior level development, the language no longer matters, um, because you've already gotten used to thinking the way that a programmer needs to think, and you've gotten used to um, a lot of the commonalities of coding from one language to another language. So honestly, picking up a new language or a new framework isn't really that hard. Yes, it still takes work. It still takes time. You've got to understand how they did things. I'm not saying that it's easy, but what I'm saying is it's not hard. And there's a difference there. It's not like I'm just going to go out tomorrow and learn Livewire. But I could get up and running very quickly with Livewire and understand what's going on in a day. And that's not because I'm an awesome developer. I'm not. I'm a fairly average developer. I hate to disappoint you. But it's not because I'm a great developer. It's because I've been doing it long enough. I recognize patterns. I recognize processes. I recognize syntax. And at the end of the day, knowing a new language is just understanding those slight differences, because they're all variables. They're all loops. They're all um, uh, conditionals. All that stuff is really the same from one programming language to another. It's just how it's written and terminology at the end of the day. So yes, there are differences. I'm not going to say that PHP is exactly the same as Go, especially when you're dealing with interpretive languages versus compiled languages. There are differences there. Okay, so I'm not saying that it's easy to just pick up a new language, but the longer you do this, the easier it gets to pick up a new language. So I would not necessarily, back to your actual question, I would not actually say that you should pursue multiple languages. I think you should get really comfortable. Notice I didn't say get really good, but you should get really comfortable with one thing before you move on to the next thing. And for me, that really is the word that you need to go with, rather than trying to meet some expectation of experience or some expectation of ability and knowledge. Those things are what help you get to a mid and a senior level development level. You have to have knowledge, you have to have experience, you have to have confidence. But really, what you want to do is you want to get to a place where you are comfortable with what you're working in. When you are comfortable with what you're working in, that means you're not looking everything up all day long. You're able to find the bugs faster because you're familiar with the language. You're familiar with the way that syntax flows. You can see the errors more quickly when you're going through it. So it's not that you shouldn't learn. It's not that you should or shouldn't learn them. It's that you should be comfortable with what you're starting out with before you move on to the next thing. Because once you're comfortable with one programming language, it's going to be easier to be comfortable with other programming languages. Again, there's going to be gotchas, there's going to be differences, there's going to be lots of things you'll have to learn from one language to another, especially if there is a difference in like compiled versus interpretive and things like that. Interpreted, I think, not interpretive. That's a dance. But I cracked myself up. But yeah, I would say not necessarily. If you're going to be a full stack developer, you are going to need to learn multiple languages. But I think you're going to pick stuff up over time. And I wouldn't have you worry about doing that. I would just say it's going to happen. You will naturally, if you stay in this career, you will naturally learn more languages and more frameworks, and it's just the way that we are. We're typically naturally fairly curious, and so we tend to jump in and learn new stuff and find it exciting and interesting. So most developers are just going to do that naturally anyway. So that's why I don't. Oh, excuse me. That's why I don't really worry about having people learn multiple things right at the beginning. In fact, that's one thing I really don't like about boot camps is that they try to cram so many different things into even 6 months is really too short of a time frame. Um, if you've got a really good boot camp, usually it's about 6 months. But even then, they're trying to cram in so many different things. You've got a database language, you've got a backend language, which a lot of times is JavaScript, but it's still different. Node is still different than regular JavaScript. You've got a front end framework, you've got HTML, you've got CSS. I mean, that's 5 things right there that you've got to learn just to get through a boot camp. And there's no way in 6 months you're going to have all that down. So one of the things that I don't like about boot camps is you never really have time to feel comfortable in anything before you move on. And for me, I think a lot of times that's where junior devs really deal with a lot of the anxiety, is the feeling that you've got to move forward and learn something else before you're really comfortable with what you're doing. And what I would say is don't do that. Um, get comfortable. Feel like not you're a master, but feel like you understand and know, and you can build something in that language, right? So get to a place where you feel comfortable writing code in that language. You feel comfortable with somebody giving you a task and you going and doing it. I'm not saying that you'd be able to do it perfectly the first time or knock it out in an hour. Maybe it takes 4 hours or 2 days or whatever. But even in the struggle of that, there's a level of comfort knowing that you understand the language enough, you understand the framework enough to know that you can figure it out, right? It's just a matter of you figuring it out. It's not a matter of you learning what you're doing and figuring it out at the same time. That's what I'm talking about when it comes to comfort. So your goal as a junior developer, in my opinion, should be to become comfortable in a language or framework before you move on to something else. So that would be my suggestion, said many times in multiple different ways. I'm the type of person I like to clarify what I'm saying and give examples. So hopefully you got it the first time. If not, maybe the 6th or 7th time I said the same thing, it was helpful. So all right, let's see. But hopefully that answered your question. I forget who that was. Kelly. Yeah. Hopefully that answered your question, Kelly. If not, ask another one. All right. So we just hit the hour. I'm going to stay on and answer some questions here for a few more minutes, but I will have to go here probably in the next 15 minutes or so. Again, I apologize for the shorter live stream this week. I will be back next week, and we will have the normal 2-hour live stream where we'll be going over hopefully some code people have submitted, and we'll definitely have opportunity for questions and things like that too, for sure. So let's see. It's good to try new things, Mel. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. It lets you know what you do and don't like. I mean, let's be honest. There's things that I don't like. I don't really prefer React in my, for me. That's fine. Doesn't mean it's bad. It's just my personal preference. And so I try not to do it as much as I can. Unfortunately, I have to, but if I'm doing my own project, it's not going to be in React. That's just the reality. And I can do that. So let's see. Cyan Dog, so Vue is greater than React? Not necessarily. No. It's just different. I like it better. I feel like Vue is easier to pick up. I feel like Vue is more how do I describe this? I feel like Vue uses CSS, JavaScript, HTML more naturally than React does. React tries to smash them together in a way that I don't find as helpful. Um, I feel like Vue does that a little bit more elegantly. Um, but for example, I have not found a great, in my opinion, a really great Vue component library. So that is an actual downside to me. So uh, as much as I don't care for React, having the MUI component library as verbose as it is, uh, it has made me hate React less, for my personal opinion. So, and that's one thing that is frustrating to me with Vue is that I haven't really found a great Vue component library yet. That's why I'm kind of excited about the Livewire one for Flux, and interested to try Livewire too. But Vue, it may be better than Vue. I don't know. We'll see. But Vue for me just feels more like normal web development. React feels more like a weird stepchild of web development. I don't know. That's just me. Um, so there you go. So I wouldn't say necessarily better or worse. It's just different, and it's I prefer it more for me. Um, I mean React has its own CLI too, doesn't it? I think Vue does too. I think all the major ones have their own command line interface. Let's see. Kelly says, "Isn't Blade enough? Just use Blade components as a beginner." Absolutely. Yeah. Again, this goes back to my issues with boot camps, right? So why can't we just teach people PHP, Laravel, and use Blade templates, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Everything that we develop doesn't have to be reactive. And I think that's part of the problem that we've run into is we've created this development society that says if you're not building something that's reactive, then you're not a real developer or you're not a good developer. And nobody says that out loud, but it's kind of an implicit feeling that if you don't know one of the top 3 reactive frameworks, then maybe 4. I don't know if we can put Livewire in that or not. But if you're not dealing with reactive components and things like that, you're not a real developer. Well, shoot, we didn't have reactive components for a long time. I mean, the first way that we really started doing that was with jQuery, and I mean, they're actually still around. I think they just put out version 4 not too long ago, if I remember correctly. But I mean, it's not like the current frameworks today. But that was really kind of the first, unless you really work to hand roll JavaScript event listeners and things like that, you were not building reactive apps. You were building just apps that did things on page load. Forms always submitted on a page load and page reload, and I mean, you can absolutely still build applications like that. You know what? The end users that I have dealt with the most couldn't care less if it was a reactive component or if the page reloaded. Now, are there times where that matters and it's helpful? Absolutely. I'm not saying that we should just chuck all that out the window. What I'm saying is, to your point, Kelly, we need to make sure that we're getting comfortable with things without just piling on more stuff. Just because everybody thinks it's cool and the best way to go and the new thing doesn't mean we've got to stick that into our project. We can build an app with just Blade templates. Absolutely. In fact, you don't even need to use a whole lot of you don't even have to have a whole lot of knowledge about the Blade templating system. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do with that. But you can get by with some very basic Blade templating too. So yeah, I mean, it's absolutely, you can build an app without adding all those other things in. For the DeepPockets project, we are doing React, but we're not using Next. It's React is loaded inside the Laravel Blade template. So if you're not familiar with how we're doing that, go find the video on that. and where I kind of walk through how we're doing that. Should be, I think that should be in the main uh, branch of the repository, but I will make sure all that stuff is updated before we start doing these tickets here this week. All right, let's see. Oh, lots of conversation now. Let's see. Yeah, Ming says I keep landing mid-level interviews. Typically, that's a minimum of 3 years. They ask me how many years of experience you have. I say 3. If they ask me how many years of experience you have, I say 3 years. Would that make a difference? I mean, if your resume doesn't say that, that might be a problem. So the reality is companies want mid-level developers at junior level cost. That's just, it's good business, but it's also because they probably don't have the ability to really truly mentor junior devs. So if you're going to find yourself in that situation, you just need to be very upfront with your expectations of them from a mentoring standpoint. And I would really encourage you, if possible, to look for companies that that not necessarily are large companies, but companies that have enough devs that asking questions is not going to be a problem. The company I work for is not a huge company. I forget how many devs we have, but it's under 50, might even be under 30 if I remember correctly. But yet there's enough developers there at the company that if somebody has a question, we throw it in Slack and somebody more than likely has an answer for it. Or we work through things together via Slack. Sometimes we have people in multiple places across the United States, so a lot of those communications are done in Slack. But I would say, regardless of how you handle the issue of how much experience you have, you want to make sure that they're going to be providing the right environment for you. That's probably more important than meeting their expectations. Because again, you can always learn what you don't know, but if you don't have the ability to interact with other developers on a day-to-day basis, you're not going to be able to grow. And that really is the point at the end of the day, is to be able to grow as a junior developer, to become a true mid-level developer, to become a senior level developer. You've got to be in an environment that's going to help produce that by giving you access to other developers. So I think that would be the biggest thing. It'd be great if they are actually set up to deal with bringing a junior developer along. I mean, that's the ideal situation. Most companies are not set up that way. So you need to make sure that you're working with other developers that are experienced and that have a culture of answering questions. That's, to me, is the biggest thing for any junior developer outside of meeting qualifications that the company has of knowledge and experience. So let's see. So many things to read. Sand says, shout out to Golang. Yep, I have messed with Golang a little bit. I have not done a project in it, but I've definitely played around with it some. It's been a while, but I have played around with it. Ming says, doing a live coding test with a friend. Yeah, absolutely. He's not very good at syntax, but he can find solutions easier using Google. Yeah, and that is almost the main difference. Like I was saying at the very beginning, if you weren't here, I won't rehash the whole thing, but the biggest difference in a junior developer and a senior developer is knowledge and experience, but it's using those things to know how to solve the problems that you're dealing with. Right? A senior level developer can deal with problems that are more difficult because they have the experience to know how to find the solutions. A junior developer doesn't have that experience yet. And so the problems that they deal with are going to be simpler problems because they don't know the right questions to ask of Google or ChatGPT or something like that. And so that is the major difference, and that is something that literally just comes with it. Just comes with time and effort and learning and usage. It's not something that you can shortcut, in my opinion. I think it's just something that you gain over time as you go as a developer. So yeah, there you go. I don't know what the 2 days is. Did I miss something? Hmm. I don't know if somebody mentioned 2 days, unless it was me. I think I might have mentioned 2 days about something. I don't know. Um, Mel says it took you a month to do the first landing page. Yeah, it absolutely is a snowball effect. That's a great analogy for it. The more you do it, the more you're going to pick up, right? And it's the same way with languages, like we were talking about before. Like the more comfortable you are, that snowball is rolling faster. You just start kind of accumulating more languages and frameworks and information along the way. So absolutely. I don't know why I'm getting a notification from Pizza Hut, but I am. That's weird. As far as I know, we're not ordering pizza at 11 o'clock in the morning. Okay, let me get through some of these. I know there's a couple of questions in here. Let's see. Ming came from a boot camp, but it was a training program. 1 year. Oh wow. Uh, that's interesting. So yeah, in my opinion, it should be at least a year. Um, and I've got a whole diatribe on a different video on this topic. But in my opinion, training should be at least a year because there's so much that goes into being comfortable with what you're doing to the point where you can actually do freelance work, where you can actually get paid and feel like you're worth getting paid to do that work. So let's see. What happened to my thumb? I cut it. I was trying to cut a bagel the other day, and it's my wife's been doing a lot of sourdough stuff recently, and she's made some sourdough bagels, and this one had been sitting out, or not out, but it had been sitting for a while. She hadn't made it. It was probably a couple days old, um, so it was a little bit harder, and I was using a very sharp bread knife, and apparently not being as careful as I should have been. So I ended up slicing my thumb a little bit, and this is here so that you don't see the ugliness. I did not get stitches or anything, so I maybe should have. It was pretty deep, but I got it all taken care of. So hopefully it'll be fine moving forward. All right, yeah, you're just trying. Cyan Dog's just trying to get us going back and forth on React versus other things. Yeah. Oh, I've never heard anybody say that, Mel, but man, if they are saying that you don't know React, you can't get a job, they don't know what they're talking about. Okay, let me just put that out there right now. You can get a job without knowing React. I should cut that and put it as like a live thing. Like a what do you call those? Shorts? I don't even know what I'm doing. What am I doing here on YouTube? I don't know. So, yeah, you do not need to learn React to get a job. You don't have to know any front end frameworks to get a job. You can get a job as a back end developer, as a system admin, as a DevOps engineer. I've got a video on that. You don't have to learn front end frameworks to get a job. So any boot camp if a boot camp actually tells you that, that's a bad sign that they just don't know what they're talking about. That or they're just trying to get, as you said, they're just trying to get you to buy their course. So yeah, it's called JSX, Cyan. Basically, you write the HTML inside, sort of inside your JavaScript. You return the HTML from a function, and it's like it works. Again, it's not that it's bad or wrong. It's just it's not my cup of tea, honestly. Um, yeah, if you're comfortable with JavaScript, you can pick up any framework. So it's not that hard. Um, I say as somebody who's been doing it for a long time. So take that with a grain of salt. Kelly says, so is React like a necessary skill to have a greater chance at a general job market since it's more popular? Um, yes and no. It is definitely more popular, but that means everybody's learning it and the job competition's much higher. Um, so maybe pick something else. And this is what I tell. This is something that you'll hear me talk about a lot on this channel. This is advice I give every time these type of questions come up. Look at the market, but don't just look at what everybody's talking about. Look at other development jobs and see what people are hiring for. Because as much as people want to say that PHP is a dead language, I'm sorry, but they just had a Laracon conference for a framework for PHP that had hundreds of people there. And that was just representative of the community. So it's certainly not dead. It's still being used to build awesome applications. We use it every day. So just because somebody says something is old or outdated or doesn't work, especially if it's continuing to be updated like PHP is, look for other options, because you might learn a skill that 95%, 90% of the other devs that went to a boot camp have not learned. And you might get a job before they will. Instead of learning React, you learn PHP, you know? So that's why I would not say that you should learn it just because it's popular. Learn something you think is going to help you reach your goals. And talk to other people and find out. Talk to people who are working. Find out what they're actually using. Find out if they're using a Node for real projects. We have one Node project out of all of our projects that we do at work. One Node project. Everything else is PHP or C#. And we have one Go and we have one Perl. So, I mean, the things that everybody says is so popular is not the jobs we're getting. So, and we can do the work. So yeah, that's just because something's popular in the learning and the tutorial and the junior level side of things doesn't mean everybody's using it and you have to learn it now. So there you go. Let's see. Is depending on AI for solutions bad? Sometimes I feel like I want to think harder, get the solution myself, but end up relying on AI. Is it bad practice? I'll be honest with you. I am vacillating on my answer to this. I would typically tell junior devs, don't use AI. Don't use Copilot. Don't use ChatGPT. We are in a world now where that is becoming ubiquitous in every level of development. So I think you need to be familiar with it. I would encourage you, from a learning standpoint, to use it as little as possible. But I would encourage you to be familiar with how you can use it so that you can use it, A, to help you, but also so that you can use it if you need to on the job. So I feel like I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth here at the same time, but for learning, I would not use it. For work, I would use it where it's helpful. So I would say get familiar with it, but try, as you're saying, try not to be dependent on it in the learning process. That would be my suggestion, in my opinion. I still don't use it very often. I actually probably should use it more than I do. So yeah, that's something that, but there's things like I was dealing with a problem yesterday for 3 hours. ChatGPT didn't have the answer, right? So it had to do with how I was writing things, not the right way to do things, right? So it was more a logic issue that ChatGPT couldn't figure out because it didn't have all the information. Just putting the code in there didn't work. So it's not a perfect solution, but I would say learn how to use it. Keep it very minimal in your learning process. Mel says, I assume AI is wrong, so when I ask it for help, I I used their answer to explore Google. Nice. Uh, Welcome, Mahendra. Good to see you. Sorry, it's going to be a short one. I'm going to be jumping off. Whoa, man, I need to get off. I see. I talked too much, and I knew it was going to be over an hour. But these are good questions, and I want to answer your guys' questions. So, let's see if there's anything else in here specifically. Uh, yeah, pretty much the entire web uses PHP. If you've got a website in WordPress or Drupal, um, you're using PHP. So, like most of the web runs off of PHP because of that specifically. But a lot of applications use PHP too. Uh, yeah, good point, Mel. Part of learning is learning how to spot good solutions. Um, Sometimes that's just trial and error. So anyway, I apologize. My wife's actually calling me, and I need to get off. So, thanks, guys, for jumping on here. I will see you all next week. And sorry for the quick exit, but I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for hanging out with me today. And yeah, see ya.